Today I've been feeling really inspired when it comes to drawing. I want to draw something to keep the flow going, but at the same time I didn't know what to draw, so I'm going to show you a process to go from not knowing what to draw to drawing something completely random. To start this process, we're going to start by picking either a shape or a pattern that you want to go with. So I chose polka dots. This could have gone one of many ways, but just start off with a pattern, draw it in the corner of your page just to remind yourself where you're starting out. So polka dots are something simple. You could also do stripes. You could think about shapes like triangles, squares, obviously stars, swirls, different things like that. But polka dots is what I went for. Then the next step was to think about what the polka dots are on. So I thought about a waistband on a dress. I could have done the whole dress as a polka dotty dress, or I could have done ladybirds, could have done like a vase with polka dots on. I could have done an animal with polka dots on. Wow, I'm saying polka dots a lot in this video, but still, polka dots. I could have even done an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. But I'm going with a dress and just the waistband being polka dotty. I don't know if anyone else finds this, but I find if I'm not in the mood to draw, my drawings don't come out great, but we're going to improve this as we go along anyway. So on to the next step, I'm then going to think about who's wearing my polka dot waistband dress. So it's going to be quite a fancy lady, and for some reason I think that my dress is now going to have a V-neck, and this lady is going to be wearing a hat with quite a large rim, and she's going to have a tiny waist to show off that waistband with the polka dots on it. I'm not worried about how my drawings are looking at this stage because this isn't the final product, but at the same time it's really hard to feel really inspired to draw when you're not inspired to draw, if that makes any sense. And I find that my drawings just don't go right if I'm not in the mood, and then I get more frustrated and it gets worse. And also if you look at my wrist, I'm quite tight and I can't loosen up when I'm drawing something that I'm not sure what to draw. My sketches are very simple and basic at the moment, and also I didn't really draw the form very well, so I didn't draw any lines and circles for my arms and my sockets. That's one thing I do need to look at this year. I think that's the 2021 goal, is to improve how I draw people and definitely how I draw hands, because hands are like my worst. Oh, actually no, hands and feet are the worst things for me to draw. I'm very much into landscapes and painting rather than drawing, so I'm not a great drawer. I'm better at painting. As you can see, my lady has sausage arms at the moment, but you get the idea with the large rim hat and the V-neck dress. And for some reason I forgot to actually draw the polka dots on her waistband, and that was the whole point. But I can add that a bit later on. Moving on to the next step, the lady is very rigid and facing towards us, so I want to think of how she's going to be moving. So I think she's going to be moving quite gracefully, and she's going to be stepping forward in her dress so it moves in a nice way. So you want to draw your line of movement. You might have someone who's running, you might have an animal that's running, you might even be turning a pot or a flower into a human at this point, just to give it some character and some movement. But this is the point where your drawing will start to come to life a bit more, and like I say, actually have some movement. So think about the angles that are going to be in your picture. She's got flowing arms now, they're moving rather than her looking quite bulky and like she's a bouncer on the door. And her hat is now tilted back because she is facing forward, or well, she's facing to the right, and so her hat is slanting down because it's not going to go straight across her head. She's going to have her head up high. Her face is looking over her shoulder slightly. I haven't added a lot of detail to the face yet. Again, people are not my strong point, so I admire anyone that can draw facial features, hands, feet, anything like that. And I also haven't drawn all the lines and bits and bobs that I should have. I just wanted to draw something. I did actually remember to add the polka dot waistband to this sketch. Not that you can see it on the camera anyway, but her arms are out in front because then I thought about adding a clutch bag, and then I started getting an idea of what she might be dressed up for. Then we move on to our next and final step, which is now going to be a full page. So you want to use up this space, don't just draw small bits like I have done on the other page. And you're going to draw your final image that you have on the other side of where you got to. So for me, it was a lady looking over her shoulder, wearing her dress with her hat and her clutch bag. And we're going to add a few more details on this one. And then you're also going to think of a story behind this picture. So why is she looking over her shoulder? Why is she dressed the way she is? Where is she? And you can include this in the picture at the end then. I feel like I should have got the paint out because I'm a bit more expressive with paint and it can flow a bit easier for me. I find sketching really hard anyway. I had a day where I felt like I needed to sketch, but none of it was going right for me until the very end. But even then I could have added way more detail, you'll see by the end of this video. But it was enough for me. It was enough to get me thinking that day and to move on to some more creative art projects. As I look back at this looks like a leg attached to the head, but it is meant to be the shoulder and the arm. It just looks a bit strange without the dress and the other details on there at the moment. I think I always find it hard to draw thin, tall women because I'm not thin and I'm not tall, but it's what you see in a lot of design magazines, and when you see clothes being drawn up and designed by designers, they're always on these long, tall, elegant looking women. And I think the pictures always look amazing, but I can never get them to look like that. So with practice, eventually, maybe I'll get there. I was also trying to think of where you'd get the pleats in the skirt for when she's walking. So I did like a larger pleat for where her knee would be for where she's stepping forward. If anyone knows of any good books for drawing figures or hands, please comment below with the name of the book. I would really like to know and check them out. I think I might do my own personal series this year looking at bodies and hands, and faces is another thing, at all different angles, and studying it in detail and seeing how far I go. If I can do them either every week or every 2 weeks, looking at different features of the body and drawing it in different ways in different media, I think I can develop. It'd be quite good to do between now and December. I have no idea when I'm going to do this. I don't know when I'm going to have the time to do it, but I could always try and do it in an evening, I guess. I'm trying to do some jewellery making this year. Haven't had time to do it yet, but we're only in January. We've got 11 months of the year to go yet. Hopefully this will be a better year than last year, or at least finish it up better than last year. If you are bored and wondering what to do in lockdown, if you're lucky enough to be off work, or you need an outlet from homeschooling, then I would recommend having 10 minutes a day just to do some drawing or do some painting and just learn some new skills. Just have some time to learn something new that you wouldn't normally do. We can always improve on skills. Like I've said earlier in this video, I'm better at landscapes, but even then I can still improve on things. So you could look at focusing on skies, look on reflections on water, looking at textures of like rocks and grass and different details like that, or how to create more abstract art pieces, or even just trying out different media to use. I think this is the time now when people can actually find something that they love and they would have never tried before. It was only on this fourth step that I'd actually realised that I hadn't given this poor lady any hair. So she's grown hair really quickly. But I would like to have given her hair in step 3 so you could have seen how straight her hair was and how lifeless the image is. And then change it so you could see some movement in the 4th step, and then obviously give it a bit more detail in this 5th step. But we've missed out those steps, so I could always go back and add that now, but I'm ready on the next step, so I'm going to leave it. But that's just for future reference, and it's just to compare where you come from and where you're going to. She's grown some hair magically, so she's still doing okay. I would also like to have used my other pencils, so I could have added some darker hair. I went as dark as I could with this pencil and it just wasn't that dark. I just wanted to create some contrast with the highlights and the shadows on her hair and other parts of the picture, but it's fine. I just went with it. I was in the zone at this point. I was getting on and feeling a bit more inspired. I think the inspiration for this lady being dressed up is the fact that I love dressing up, and these last, wow, it's almost been a year actually. I was going to say how many months, but this last year we've hardly been out, and I think inside my brain is saying I want to get dressed up, I want to go out somewhere nice, and I think I was just expressing that on paper. Going by that theory, I could have also drawn like a diner girl or someone going to eat at a restaurant, like a couple eating out or something, because I've missed going out for a meal, especially TGI Fridays. Right now, I'd love to go out for their crispy chicken and their barbecue sauce. It's amazing. I don't think the story behind this lady being dressed up is going to be going to TGI Fridays, though. She could be going to the races. But I actually went with the idea of her going to a wedding. A lot of weddings were cancelled this year, so again, I think that's where this idea came from, really. And it must be a super sunny day because she has a massive hat. I'm not sure how she's going to get through the doorways with it, to be honest, but it's definitely going to keep her super shaded from that sun. Her hands ended up being more like paws. I think, actually, now thinking about it, I think it's partly to do with the fact there's no shading, and I didn't actually give her any fingernails. I've just realised that, and I think that would have made a difference, but they aren't great. So you just want to keep building up your image, keep adding more details that you haven't had before, and as you can see, there is a big improvement from this picture, sorry, from the previous page to this picture already. but I keep adding more detail. I'm adding a face now rather than just some random dots. And then I decided to actually go over everything with a biro. Like I said earlier, I didn't have the pencils nearby that I wanted to add the contrast with, so I used a biro to add some details. I could have painted with watercolours and a fine liner to create a more soft, feminine, delicate look, but I didn't want to do any painting. I was trying to focus on sketching and improving my skills. I don't know if I did because I wasn't in the right frame of mind, but I got my brain thinking about something that I wouldn't have thought about otherwise. I'm going to leave you with a bit of music for this section so you can have a little break from my voice. So since hearing the music, my picture has improved, or I think it has. You can see that she's got some shadows and a few highlights on her body now, which makes her look a bit better. And then I'm just adding this window behind her. I really wanted to frame the top half of her because I love her hat. And in a way, I thought that it would show the scale of how big her hat really is. As I mentioned earlier, I decided that she's going to a wedding, so I thought about what kind of wedding venues you get. So you have the nice, I can't think of what the window's called. Is it, oh, I can't think of the word, it doesn't matter. But they got like nice little squares, if that makes sense. And then you have like window boxes and really nice shaped greenery. So I went for the greenery in this one. I just wanted to do little neat hedges. So I did one under the window and I added some others in the background a little bit later on. I just think it's amazing how far an idea can come from polka dots, which I have to say is my favourite pattern of all time, so I don't think I would have chosen any other pattern. But I could have just gone so many places with it, and with how my mind was thinking on this day, this is how my picture ended up. Yet there was so many opportunities for it to go in lots of different directions. So I urge you, if you're not feeling very inspired to draw, start small and develop that idea. The development stage took me about 10 minutes and then I spent about half an hour drawing this other part. I don't know if you can see it very well on the screen, but her shoulder now has some lace texture to it. So she did have just a V-neck dress, as you saw on the other page, but then I added a little sleeve and I wanted it to be a lace effect, so I tried to use my pen to give it a bit of texture. And while my drawing has a long way to go in technicalities, it's come a long way in, like I say, about half an hour to get to where it is now, from something where I didn't know what to draw, where to start, and didn't feel like drawing. So I'm happy with how it went, and you can see that my hand starts to loosen up a bit more as well. So this is ready, this is like a warm-up. It's really good to do as a warm-up for art. So in the background here, I'm just adding a sign saying wedding, or it says wedding with no G on the end because the dress is in the way, but you can understand what it is based upon the fact that it has the rest of the letters and the way she's dressed. I hope that I've inspired you to pick up a pencil and get a drawing on that paper today. Whether you're good at art or not, there is no failures in art. So I urge you to get on with the drawing and to start somewhere. You can improve, and like I say, I've got a long way to go. By all means, I'm not perfect, nowhere near, but you can learn a new skill. Whilst there's lockdown going on in the UK, it's the perfect time to learn something new. If you enjoyed this video, click subscribe for more art related videos.